Welcome to another episode of the Franchise Academy. My name is Tom Scarda, and this is a place to come to learn about franchising, whether you want to buy a franchise or whether you're a franchise company and you want to learn best practices from other franchise companies. So today we're going to be talking about that kind of stuff. So this is exciting. The Franchise Academy, we've been on the air since 2014. Used to be a radio show in New York, and then we switched to podcasting because it seems like not many people listen to the radio anymore. So we are broadcasting literally around the world by podcast. And so we're on every platform that um, holds podcasting audio. And so thank you for joining us. I'm a franchise advisor and coach by day, and I work with folks around the country, helping them find the right franchise for them, their family, and their community. Today, we're going to talk to Michael Wagner, who's the president of Pool Scouts, which is a Buzz Company brand. So, we're going to talk about the growth that the pool industry has had and some other great things that are happening with the Buzz Company. And there's just so much to talk about. So, I want to bring Michael on. And an old friend of mine, Michael Wagner, welcome to the Franchise Academy.
Thank you, Tom. Happy to be here.
Yeah, this is so great. We had you on, I don't know when, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and Pool Scouts was just kind of making its way. You had just a handful of franchises, and now how many franchises do you have?
We have 47 franchise entities. We have 105 locations around the country, of which 79 of those are open, and we have representation or locations in 17 different states, Tom.
That is amazing. And you're based in Virginia, is that right?
We are. We're based in somewhat sunny, albeit cold today, Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Yeah. So and so your reach goes all the way out across the nation, 17 states. And the thing that is interesting to me is COVID, and people have COVID puppies and COVID bicycles. People have COVID pools. And so what I mean by that is when COVID happened and people got, locked down, they were looking for things to do outside of their home, but on their property. So is that part of the growth that's happening with the pool scouts?
That has certainly helped us. We've had some tailwinds behind us, Tom, with pool construction growth across the country. You kind of step back right in the beginning of the pandemic. There was just like an immediate shutdown of things, and so what shut down were obviously public places, which included public swimming pools or community swimming pools. On top of that, you really had historically low interest rates, and you had increasing values in people's homes, which really kind of exploded during the course of the pandemic as well, and even more so now. So you had low interest rates, you have people having to stay at home, you had community pools that were closed. So what did that do? It fueled pool construction across the country. So pool construction over the past 3 years has been north of 20%. Really, we went from having 11 million residential pools to over 12 million residential pools across the country. So those pools need to be cleaned, maintained, repaired, etc. And so that's been a real fuel for our growth across the country. So we've had that's translated in growth, of course, in the number of franchisees and locations that we have around the country, but also in the customer side of things. Customer acquisition has been very robust for our brand, really since day one, but certainly over the past 3 years as well.
And you've also told me you've fine-tuned your customer acquisition for the franchise owners. Is that right? How are you going about that?
Yeah, well, I think it's changed, even since we started the business in 2016. We have really what we call a three-pronged approach to marketing. First, let me start off with our marketing is extremely targeted. And even when franchise candidates are looking about what does a territory consist of? So often, Tom, you know this, you're always talking with candidates about this is the unit you're buying. This is what it represents. And it could be in a retail store with a certain amount of geography around it. In our case, it is zip code protected quantities of single family homes with in-ground pools with incomes above $100,000. and
Mm.
franchise territories contain up to 10,000 of those. So if you really kind of picture that in your mind, that's a laser-like focus on who your target customer is. And that's one of the beauties of our business model. And then we do a lot to kind of, as we say, get the phone to ring. It might be get the phone to click or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, we're doing digital marketing, SEO in-house, helping them work with their paid side of things. We're doing direct mail to those specific targeted households. And then we're helping them with their community-oriented marketing that they do to get in front of those residential pool owners across the country. So that's certainly an advantage and a strength of Buzz franchise brands. But in our case with Pool Scouts, it's very, very focused and targeted to those target households that we identify in the territories too.
Absolutely. So tell me, how does Buzz, what is Buzz for people that don't know, and how do they help
Yes,
companies?
so Buzz Franchise Brands is, which I'm very proud to be a part of, is an organization that started in 2012. It started with the first brand that we had, which was Mosquito Joe, which we built up over a number of years and ended up selling that brand in 2018 after having built it up to 340 units across 37 different states. We now have 4 brands in our portfolio: Pool Scouts, Home Clean Heroes, which is a residential home cleaning business; British Swim School, which is a brand that we bought in 2019, which is now our largest brand; and a new brand called Wonderly, which is focused on holiday lighting and soon to be in the residential outdoor lighting business as well. So those are the 4 brands that we have in our portfolio, and we have a team of about 75 people that support both the individual brands, and then they're part of a group called Shared Services, which support across all of our brands too. So we're able to really scale our team, our best practices, our vendor relationships across Buzz franchise brands to make more economies of scale for our franchisees ultimately.
So that's an interesting thing to note. So if you're out there listening and you're thinking about buying a franchise, it's interesting to consider franchises that have a parent company like a Buzz brand that brings all this to the table, all the marketing experience and everything that goes with it. And not to mention the years of leadership, with you and with Kevin Wilson, who's the CEO of Buzz Brands, and so it just goes on and on and on, and so you could share best practices between different concepts. You can even get involved and own 2 concepts. Like while you're cleaning pools, you also might be teaching people how to swim that use pools, and so things like
We got
that.
2 of those, as a matter of fact, 2 British Swim School franchisees, which were also Pool Scouts franchisees, one in Detroit, Michigan, and one in Salt Lake City, Utah. So yes, we have those multi-brand franchisees rather in our family too. So you're right
Yeah,
on.
yeah, it's amazing, and you could do it all under one roof. And so the people, the players. And so if you're comfortable, you're comfortable, and it's a great opportunity. So tell me more about Pool Scouts, because that's kind of your baby. So you're growing exponentially. Are you looking for people that have pool experience? Tell me about, like, who would be a good franchise owner for a
Yeah.
pool.
Yeah, so of our franchise owners are 47. None of them came from the pool business. So we realized as we really as our model evolved, we originally started the business and we hired or brought in some pool specific experts basically to help us with that. While I've learned a lot since 2015 and coming on here, I'm probably not the guy that's the best wrench turner that's out there or the best chemist that's out there, whatever it might be. But we do have a really good team of technical support people that train and provide what I call just-in-time support for both franchisees and the technicians of franchisees. So we teach that. Like any franchise system, Tom, we bring to the table great vendor partnerships to get you the best deal for your ketchup packets, as I always like to call it. In our case, it's chlorine tabs and pump motors and multi-port valves and all these other different chemicals and products that we use on a regular basis. But we bring those scaled relationships to the table, the systems to operate the business, of course, like any franchise system would. but we're able to scale those relationships, across our franchise brand, and ultimately end up getting a better deal for the franchisees for those kinds of goods and services that they need to operate the business. And in some cases, in the case of like marketing relationships that we have or vendors that we work with, we're able to scale those across our brands, so that we get a better deal, even more so because it's not just across one brand, but it's across multiple brands. And we have some of those relationships in the public relations side of things, and some software systems or applications that we use, and marketing vendors that we use, and other items as well. So that's the nice another advantage of being part of a multi-brand franchisor, where you have the scale that exists.
So an obvious question that I get in this particular industry is seasonality.
Yeah.
So is there going to be a difference in revenue between doing this, in New York as opposed to doing it in Florida?
Yeah, so I always like to start. We're in 17 different states, so we have true representation in true seasonal markets. We're in West Hartford, Connecticut. We're in Boise, Idaho. We're in Salt Lake City, Utah. We're in Maryland and Northern Virginia. Lots of markets where they are truly seasonal markets. And what I always say when we're talking to prospective candidates is, the season is a lot longer than you thought it was going to be. We closed pools in Detroit in December. We closed pools in Boise in December. We service and clean hot tubs in Boise, every week in January, February, March, etc. So there are some services we provide. But if you step back and look at the seasonality, there are services which I call the bookend of the business, which are those opening services and those closing services for customers. Those are high revenue generating, great customer acquisition opportunities for franchisees to get those recurring customers. And the first time they go out and do a pool opening or a pool closing, if it might be when they recruit the customer at the end of the season, it's not necessarily a routable one as much as it is the next time when they've got 5 pools that need to be opened or closed in that particular area. So it innately becomes a lot more efficient. So those bookends generate a lot of revenue, but are great customer acquisition opportunities. We're also in Florida, we're in Texas, we're in Arizona, we're in markets where we're servicing pools 52 weeks a year, and we're servicing them every week, right? So different, higher value per service in the seasonal markets than there are in the year-round markets, but both of them, have great opportunities for revenue generation per customer. And we have also we understand the marketing in both seasonal. We've actually kind of broken it up into 4 areas. We call it the truly seasonal markets, the semi-seasonal markets, and then we have Florida as its own market because it's got some nuances there, and then what we call just the rest of the year-round markets as well. But each one of those models is the same from a scalable relationship, from a recurring service. It just might be that the pools in Florida are averaging 10 to 11,000 gallons as opposed to the pools in the mid-Atlantic that are averaging 22,000 gallons. So just an example, the pools in some parts of Florida are all screened in. Well, that takes 15 minutes or less to clean that pool as opposed to something that you might see in Hartford, Connecticut or something like that. So we figured those things out, the nuances from both a targeting and a marketing perspective, but also the operational perspective on how you should, do those jobs and route those jobs.
Yeah, I think so that's great. Thank you for clarifying that. That's like, even for me, for my own head, when I speak to candidates, I have that information now. But you said that you also clean spas and hot tubs, which I didn't know. So have you expanded services over the years?
Yeah. Really, we last year we serviced a number of customers, a great number of customers across the country. And we grew the average number of services per customer last year. We grew our average value per customer by 18% last year. And that was done through normal, things, by just being in the backyard more often and recurring customers, continuing to retain them, obviously, and service them throughout the course of the year. But it was also done by expanding services. We added some key line items to our service portfolio, one being vinyl liner replacement, and another being safety cover installation. So in our 47 franchise location or for franchisees, 24 of those are in markets where you would have vinyl liner or safety cover installations that need to be done. So we launched that last year with some great success, and we're super excited about that this year. But if you think about it, Tom, those are customer relationships we already have. We're already in their backyard on a regular recurring basis. We know when their liner needs to be replaced or their safety cover needs to be installed. And then the same things happen with pool refinishing. We're servicing customers on a regular recurring basis. We determine that, or they ask us, hey, we want to redo our pool. It's 20 years old, and we decide we want to replaster it, add some new decking, etc. We've created some referral partnerships for our franchisees to monetize those referrals on those customers that they're already servicing on a regular basis. So 2 areas where we've expanded our services, and we're constantly looking at more things to do. We sped up when we train franchisees on repair stuff. So we do it right out of the gate. We've got continual repair training classes that we're offering throughout the course of the year in different parts of the country. So franchisees can either come or send their technicians to get trained. We're very engaged with local and state bodies to make sure that the licensure that needed is taken care of, so that we can get them down the path if they need to get a license to do some of the work that they do. So really expanding the overall relationship with the customer to stay in their backyard on the regular recurring basis and do these additional services, either ourselves or through partners.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And that's, it's interesting to me when, I talk to somebody, like some people would say to me, oh, you know what? I could just like figure out how to clean a pool. I don't need to buy a franchise to do that. And it's like, you're not getting it, right? Yeah, you could, but how about the marketing? How about like this other stuff? Like you're as an owner, you should be steering the ship, but you shouldn't really need to be looking at the horizon. The franchise company's doing that. You're just making sure you're on course, doing the daily minimum stuff, the behaviors you need to do. And so you guys have that all dialed in, which makes, a consultant like me very comfortable when we show the company and say, look, here's what you get. This is what you're getting.
Yeah. I mean, any home service business, there's a formidable amount of competitors that are mom and pops that are, there's lots of terms for it, but, an individual operator who is, working out of a truck and doing the work. And that's not what we're about. We're about building a business, building a scalable business that will create long-term value for the franchisee ultimately, that, has recurring revenue, which is, to me, we're in the pool cleaning, maintenance, and repair business. I don't know of anybody who's ever said, man, that's a really sexy business. But for me, what I always think is super sexy about our business model is the recurring nature of it, the predictability of it, and the scalability of it. If you think, Tom, if we were to, service 100, customers during the course of the first year, or 200 customers the first year, whatever it might be, the next year, without doing anything differently, we're going to generate a lot more revenue because we'll have serviced the entire 200 customers, provided we're able to retain them more times because we'll acquire them during the different courses of the year. But we'll have also routed those customers a lot more efficiently than they were in year one, driving a better gross margin moving forward. So there's a lot of things like that, the predictability, the recurring nature, and the targeted approach towards customer acquisition that, for me, makes Pool Scouts a sexy business option.
Right. Well, my mentor, Jeff Elgin, says the way you spell sexy or the way you spell unsexy is Money. And so
That's a good one. That's a good one.
yeah,
I might
no,
have to use
it's great. And the thing is that you're teaching people how to work on the business and not in the business. And that's what gives you both money and time. So there might not be a real barrier to entry, but there's a real barrier to scalability for the mom and pop that just doesn't know how to do that. They're usually
Right.
chasing their tails, trying to get more customers, and they don't know how to do customer retention. And so that's where franchise really comes in handy. So yeah, I appreciate that. So when somebody's out there and they're thinking about a franchise, what in your mind, and we probably already said this, but I just wanted to kind of put it in like a nice tidy box. What why should somebody consider Buzz Brands and or Pool Scouts or one of the other three brands if they're thinking right now, I want to buy a franchise?
Well, I'll start from the Buzz Franchise Brands family. We've been doing this for a while. 2012, you hit the nail on the head. We got a great leadership team here with a ton of experience. I think ultimately, Tom, as you introduce your candidates to our brands as an example, we pretty much early on open up the book for validation and that process itself. So you get a chance to talk to franchisees and say, hey, would you do this again? How do they support you? We're transparent in our representations in the FDD, of course, we have to be. And so I think there's a culture piece that is important, and that's based on trust. And I know we share that mantra of helping people build a better life and enabling people to realize their dreams is something we talk about, which is huge. But I think that's a start. The organization itself has always been well capitalized. So when I came on board in 2015 to help start the second brand, Pool Scouts, I had the luxury of going out to hire a great group of people and do things the right way. While bootstrapping can be fun, it's not always the most efficient way to build a business that you're looking long term, in. And that's certainly the way we look at our businesses. All four of our brands, we're thinking long term. How do we make successful franchisees and a great unit economic model that's replicable wherever we decide to offer it? So I think that's a strength of BFB. With regards to Pool Scouts, I think I tried to hit on some of those key points, but it's a home service business. The opportunity to stand out amongst a sea of mom and pop kind of competitors is very substantial. Customer acquisition for us has been a real strength since we started the brand in 2016. The ability to stand out with a higher level, higher quality, premium service brand in the pool space has been a winner. We have an NPS of 79 we finished with last year, which is pretty darn incredible. If you don't know about NPS, I encourage you to kind of Google it and see what good scores are. But that is a fabulous score. So the targeted approach, the recurring revenue. We have a great team of people here that enjoy and are passionate about supporting franchisees at the Pool Scouts and at the BFB level, that we're all proud to be part of this team. And we think about things from a long-term perspective. So those are my plugs for BFB and for Pool Scouts. But in any home service brand, I think the opportunities are good. And like I said, maybe not sexy, but what's sexy? How can you see yourself building something that's going to ultimately have long-term value with some predictability and some, those are things that make those businesses in many cases very attractive options out there.
Right. And so when it comes time for exit, when you want to retire to the Caribbean, you actually have a book of business that you could sell when you have a repeat business like a Pool Scouts.
Exactly.
So I do love that for it. So I just thank you for coming on again and sharing the story of Buzz Brands and Pool Scouts and Home Clean Heroes and British Swim Schools and your latest brand.
Wonderly, yep, exactly. Thank you very much, Tom. What a great opportunity. I always enjoy spending time with you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
no,
your
this is
support of
great.
all of our brands.
I love it. I love it. If you could just end with one piece of advice for somebody thinking about a franchise right now, they're kind of like stuck, like, should I get a job? Should I change my job? Or should I buy a business and control my destiny? What advice would you give to
Well,
them right now?
yeah, well, I come from the entrepreneurial bent, of course, so I'm always in the mind of the world needs creative people to kind of go out there and create their own destiny and their future as well. And buying a franchise, getting involved with the greater good of a brand, and knowing that you're in business for yourself but not by yourself. is key. If you were to go start a pool franchise, not a franchise, just a pool business, you know, Tom's pool business, you got to come up with where you're going to get your stuff, all the systems, the marketing, the operations, the training, everything about the business. And when you buy a franchise, you get that stuff set up for you, vetted appropriately. And all those things are strengths that make it, less likely that you're going to fail. Always look yourself in the mirror as, as a potential entrepreneur and say, hey, am I going to be okay not having a guaranteed salary or income? And can I, build the business while it's not making money in the beginning? I think you have to take a quick look at your balance sheet, make sure you have both the stomach and the savings to do it, knowing that you're pushing forward with something that is a great opportunity, provided you choose something that you can love, you can learn to love, and that ultimately you'd be excited about doing and being part of your community as a representative of whatever that business might be.
You need the money and you need the mentality to do it. So that's well said. I love that. And one thing that you touched on, and you said briefly, and I think it's important to understand. So in a business like this, you talk about routing. So I know what you mean, but for the audience, what do you?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
is that
So,
from?
so in our business, we have vehicles. We have 4 different vehicles in our fleet of Pool Scouts authorized vehicles. And a technician in a vehicle goes out, depending on where they are, they can clean between 8 and 22 pools a day. 22 is more down to southern Florida, where they're right on top of each other, next to each other. But let's call it 8 and 14 in a normal world. Well, you can do 8 to 14 depending on the routing efficiency. So as you build up the tightness of the routes, you drive less and bill more and do more work in a shorter period of time. Of course, our systems operate to help you drive that efficiency and routing and all those kinds of stuff. You don't have to do it on your own. But in home service businesses, it's about less windshield time and more billable hours, if you will. And
Yeah.
so that's what we talk about.
So I just wanted to make that clear for people that are listening that are unaware of how this kind of business works. And so great insights, Michael. Thank you so much. Love hearing from you guys anytime. This is great. We'll have you on again and we'll talk more. So if you want to learn more about Pool Scouts and Buzz Brands, go to thefranchiseacademy.com. All the information will be on there and we'll route you through to the Buzz Brand family. So thanks for listening, Michael. Thanks for being on the show, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Tom.